Every year, teams draft quarterbacks in the first round, hoping they have selected their franchise's guy for the next 10 to 15 years. Some players like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen work out, while others like Dwayne Haskins and Paxton Lynch do not. And what's unfortunate for teams whenever they draft a quarterback that's a bust is 9 out of 10 times that is the general manager and head coach's job going away with that. So when a quarterback is selected, it not only ties their team's fan base to that guy for the next few years, but it also ties several guys' jobs with that selection too. Every team drafts busts from time to time as it's a part of the business. Some are just more monumental than others. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing teams that could take a swing at their next franchise guy. And to be clear, I'm not wasting time including the Jaguars because we know now that they have the #1 pick and we know who they're selecting, so for me to take a couple minutes out of the video to talk about them when we know what they're doing is kind of pointless. But before we get started, I ask that you like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated and it helps the channel a ton. Now let's begin. We're going to begin with the Denver Broncos, and it's not hard to figure out why. Drew Lock in 2020 hasn't been great and has had a clear sophomore slump. He entered this year looking to be the guy, and simply put, well, he has not been the guy this year. He has more interceptions than touchdowns, and for as much criticism and slander as Carson Wentz gets, that's not something he has even done this year. Drew has 15 interceptions to 14 touchdown passes, and in addition to that, has 8 fumbles on the current campaign. The Broncos season, no matter what, ends Sunday in what, for hopefully for their sake, is a loss. What's bad for Drew is really a few things. Denver has given him weapons and did everything they could to groom a young quarterback, and he just hasn't panned out. A lot of quarterbacks would love to have Courtland Sutton, although he has been hurt this year, Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy, and KJ Hamler as weapons to throw the ball to. Now, Tim Patrick has also stepped up in ways people didn't expect to either. Those are solid weapons to work with, and that's not including handing the ball off to Melvin Gordon or Phillip Lindsay either. The Broncos have given him weapons to work with, and he has turned the ball over and made bad plays that far outweigh the good. Now, I will say Jerry Jeudy did have a terrible game recently, as he had 5 drops, which obviously doesn't help Drew or the Broncos out, but let's get this straight. Those 5 drops do not determine whether Drew is the Broncos quarterback next year or not. They don't. But what is especially concerning for the Broncos moving forward is Drew finished 2019 with a 4-1 record, and his only loss was to the Kansas City Chiefs. A rookie quarterback losing to the future Super Bowl champions is understandable, and there is no red flags or anything like that going off. It's pretty much expected. But the worst part is in 2020, instead of building off that, he regressed big time. He was 4-8 as a starter this year, his completion percentage dropped over 7%, and his interception percent nearly doubled. And what hurts Drew is how loaded this upcoming quarterback class is. Occasionally we have classes where there may be a guy or two, and the media may try and bring a third guy up to create a hectic draft night, but this draft class will legitimately have 5 or even 6 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. And with how Locke has played this year, and if the board shakes out in their favor, do not be surprised if Denver is one of those teams selecting their next franchise guy. Next is, and this may be surprising, but the Detroit Lions. So if you're a Lions fan, hear me out on this one, because I'm not saying Matt Stafford isn't good or that he's horrible or anything like that. What I am saying is there will be a new general manager and new head coach next year that have 0 ties to him. If they want to move on from him and try and trade him to a team like Denver, who we have seen over the past 10 years are not good at drafting quarterbacks, then they very well could. The Lions play the Vikings Sunday, and if they lose, they will finish with a record of 5-11 and have a top 10 pick. And what benefits them is the Bengals, Dolphins, and Eagles will more than likely pick in front of them. The Dolphins pick from the Texans, by the way. None of these teams will draft a quarterback. And as of now, Detroit is picking 7th overall, and a loss will only help them move further up the board. So at this point, if the Lions do lose and the Eagles beat the football team on Sunday, which is very possible by the way, they move into the top 6. And as we said, the Jags pick is done. The Jets could go tackle, the Dolphins will probably go receiver or trade out, which the Lions could trade up for, the Falcons could draft the best defensive player available, and the Bengals will not draft a quarterback. So very quickly, we have things unfolding in the Lions' favor, and they would probably have their selection be between Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Wilson or any other top quarterback not named Trevor. Detroit as a team isn't just bad at one position, so it's not like they're one piece away from being a consistent 12-4 Super Bowl contender, or next year 13-4, whatever. This is a team that has won one playoff game in the entire Super Bowl era, so it's not like this is exactly new to them. But eventually you have to think the misfortune will change for them. They can't be this bad all the time, because at some point they will be contenders, whether that's in 3 years, 10 years, or whenever. This draft class is loaded at quarterback, and with a 32-year-old quarterback who the new regime will have no ties to, could very well signal the end of Matt Stafford's run as a Detroit Lion. Next is the San Francisco 49ers, and the reason why is it revolves around head coach Kyle Shanahan. Kyle has been at minimum an offensive coordinator in the NFL for over a decade now, as he started with the Texans in 2008, went to DC in 2010, a year stop with the Browns in 2014, and of course, as most of us know, Atlanta and ultimately Super Bowl 51 with the Falcons in 2015 and 2016. Those pit stops led to him to where he is today, which of course is the head coach of the 49ers. In all of these stops, there is one common thing. Kyle has never had his guy to work with who was truly his guy for multiple years. And I said that because I realized Washington drafted RG3 when he was there, but that was very limited as he tore his ACL in the playoffs of his rookie season and was never again the same. And I don't exactly include Johnny Manziel attempting 35 passes as a rookie, selecting his guy either before he moved on to the Atlanta Falcons. When Kyle was the head coach, they traded for Jimmy Garoppolo in his first year, and while he obviously did have input on that, because if he said straight up no, they wouldn't have traded for him, but that's not the same as drafting your own quarterback in the first round. San Francisco had a down year this year due in large part to injuries, but even when they made the Super Bowl, which by the way was less than a year ago, Jimmy didn't play a big role in that in the playoffs. And in the divisional round against the Vikings and in the NFC Championship, Jimmy threw a combined 27 passes in 2 games as the offense put up 64 points, and the message was clear. Give the backs the ball and pound the rock down the Vikings and Packers' throats until they prove they can stop it. Of course, neither team successfully did, and Kyle wasn't putting Jimmy in harm's way against 2 solid defenses to have him either not succeed or turn the ball over. The 49ers then played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and when Jimmy needed to make a play with the game on the line, he overthrew Emmanuel Sanders for a chance to win the Super Bowl. Now, I'm not saying Jimmy is terrible, but what I am saying is if the board plays out and Kyle and general manager John Lynch absolutely love a prospect, whichever prospect that is, they could 100% go to the Bay Area. Jimmy's contract doesn't lock him down to the team the way Carson Wentz does the Eagles, and because of that, the 49ers are definitely a team to be wary of come draft night. Their defense is good, and they have receivers like Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and of course, tight end George Kittle. This would be a very favorable situation for a rookie quarterback. And if Kyle and John Lynch are head over heels for a prospect that falls even a little bit, then they will be a sleeper team to watch for in late April. And the final team we go to for today's video is the Atlanta Falcons. So this is complicated because of Matt Ryan being there and his contract. But what's not complicated is him aging and that he'll be 36 years old by the start of the 2021 season. Now if the Falcons do go down this road and draft a quarterback, it is not going to be a plug and play right away like we see a lot of the time with players like Joe Burrow and Baker Mayfield. This would 100% be a sit down for at least a year behind Matt Ryan and watch him learn and how he prepares and everything of that nature. We have seen before with players like Brett Favre pretty much say, I'm not going to be a mentor and that's not my job and I won't have any parts of it, but this is just me speaking here, I don't think Matt Ryan is like that at all. His personality, his demeanor, and the way he goes about his business is a lot different than Brett Favre's was, and I don't want to say he would welcome it and welcome the Falcons drafting his backup, but I also think he would be understanding of the decision and understand it's not personal, it's just business. Now the Falcons have struggled this year as 4-11 doesn't happen by accident, but in the same sense they have more than had their moments too. They have been in a lot of games, and as we know what has become a running joke across the internet is them blowing leads. So while they have struggled at times, as pretty much every team has at one point or another, they've had some serious highs for a 4-11 team, which is pretty uncommon. The reason they could go quarterback is this would be a great spot for a project quarterback to go with a new head coach and new general manager. And like we said with the Lions about Matt Stafford, this new regime doesn't owe anything to Matt Ryan and aren't attached to him either. They could 100% go with a defensive player when they select high in the first round, but unfortunately there is no Chase Young clear-cut above everybody else in this class. Micah Parsons is good, but would the Falcons take him, especially in the top 5, is another question. My personal thoughts to close this video out is I'd love Trey Lance to go here to develop behind Matt Ryan, but what actually happens is probably something different. Now, that's all I have for today's video. These are not just 4 teams. It's not limited to these 4 teams that could go quarterback. There's plenty others. I just wanted to include 4 teams you probably don't think about. Now, I hope you enjoyed. If you're still watching, I want you to know I appreciate the time out of your day, and I ask that you subscribe to the channel if you're still watching. It helps a ton, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day, and have a great new year. Let's hope 2021 is better than 2020, and that's all I have. Love you guys. Deuces. Peace.